Every now and then a story needs to be told. Hi, I'm Reverend Julius Walls Jr., Chief Operating Officer of the Amy Zion Church and Business Manager of the Publishing House. And I'm coming to you from the James Varick Bookstore, where we have all of the supplies you need to operate your church. You can get your Sunday school literature from us. You can get your communion supplies, your paraments, all that you need to operate your church. We hope you'll patronize us. Today, I'm sitting with Herb Watkins, my immediate predecessor in these roles. Herb Watkins served this church in a wonderful way, and he has so many stories to tell us about what he did, what he saw, and how he moved this church forward. And then we're going to start to look forward to where we're going. So we hope that you'll sit back and enjoy our conversation. Participate also. Send us your questions. Send us your ideas, things that we can look to implement in the future. Again, thank you for joining us.
Welcome. I'm here with my brother Herb Watkins. Happy belated birthday. Your birthday was last week.
Thank you.
I hope you had a wonderful time.
Blessed time. Just a wonderful celebration.
Cool. I told you that Herb was my immediate predecessor. Herb, what was your title?
I served this church with the title of Chief Operating Officer and Business Manager.
Okay. And what were your responsibilities indeed, your area of responsibilities?
Fundamentally, the area of responsibility was, as Chief Operating Officer, fundamentally to be the facilities manager for the church operations and its buildings. As business manager was fundamentally to bring business processes and practices into the publishing house and figure out how we might more efficiently and effectively do those tasks and bring less expense and perhaps some additional revenue to the church.
So when you say the church buildings, the denominations buildings, you're speaking specifically of the headquarters or the property right here. What is included in that?
Now, in addition to the headquarters property, it was the James Varick Renaissance Center, as well as the church owns a private home property that, as Chief Operating Officer, I had the responsibility for bringing those facilities up to standards and figuring out ways by which they could be meaningfully repurposed to bring additional revenues to the church.
Oh, wow. So as I got here, I found that you had already found tenants for these properties, and we're bringing income into the headquarters with those tenants. Who's the tenant over at the Varick Renaissance Center?
The church Have Life, and as I recall, I think they've now been the tenant there for 5 years.
Okay.
The building had to be upfitted and renovated in a sense of making it more palatable for a tenant, because we changed the purpose. You remember it was a facilities banquet hall.
Right.
So the work of doing that and cleaning out the church properties and putting it in proper storage for future use, and then finding a meaningful tenant. And I chose to look for a tenant that would be able to lease the entire building as opposed to multiple tenants. My concern at the time was, of course, wear and tear on the facility and the ease of management of one tenant versus several.
Right, and so most people don't understand that we own that property and we had to continue to put money into that property, but now with a tenant in there, we're able to actually receive monies out of the property. That's a major difference for us, and so we no longer have to put money into that property, but we still own it.
Exactly, and at the time, the Varick Center, as well as the headquarters, needed significant roof repairs and capital structure changes. And with the work of the Board of Bishops, we were able to secure the funds to get those projects done that set the basis for a tenant to do exactly as you said, to be able to get monies out of the buildings as opposed to continuing to have to invest.
And one of the things we're doing now as a result of your work in getting the tenants is we set money aside for those capital investments going forward.
Yes.
So that we're not surprised by them and we're prepared to handle them and we don't have to go find monies to do those kind of capital projects.
In a similar way, the house, the private home, was basically gutted and rebuilt. All the inside was restored, new flooring, new appliances, fixtures, the whole work of refurbishing a home, and we placed it open and available for rental.
Right, and we have a private tenant in there as well.
Have a private tenant.
So they're able to pay rent and make sure, again, that
Exactly.
property is maintained. And not as much as the Renaissance Center, but delivers some dollars that we can use towards operations.
Yes. And here at the headquarters, just a beautiful headquarters structure. But over the years, it had been allowed to kind of get to the point that it needed significant capital improvements. A roof, a number of the air conditioning units had to be replaced. We went through and did refurb work, paints and changing of the doors and those kinds of facilities, just to bring the property up to the standards of Zion.
Right, and you were with the organization for how long?
I was with the organization from 2014 to 2021.
Right. And I had an opportunity at the request of the Board of Bishops to come into the facility and observe the operations and be a part of a team. It was called the Management Review Team. And so I saw the facility before you were brought on board. And I see now the results of your work. And it's been tremendous. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to inherit the work that you did here at the headquarters and over at the Varick Renaissance Center.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. It was important to me because of my love for the church to make sure that its headquarters spoke well of it.
Yes.
And as a result, I would ask you, building on, as you phrased it, my work, what are the projects that you see might be the next stage for the advancement of the headquarters?
Well, I'd like to see additional technology brought in to the facility. We continue to upgrade our internet and Wi-Fi and the computers and such here. When I first came, I saw people working on dot matrix printers, as it were. And so we've been able to upgrade the infrastructure even more and have plans to go even further. You added cameras external to the facility. We've added cameras internal to the facility. It's security is just such a big issue with all of the things that are happening around this country. And so we've been concerned. And for those that don't know, we're actually sitting in the headquarters right now in the reception area. This is what you would see as you came into the facility. And we continue to look for ways to make it more welcoming and more inviting for people to come and be with us. At the same time, making sure we have a safe place for our employees.
You know, one of the projects that I am most proud of as it relates to the security of the building was the installation of the control access gates. Because there were many times before those gates were installed, we would find people loitering in the parking lot, dumping off their excess furniture into our parking lots and those kinds of things. And the staff felt much more secure.
Yes.
To be able to come to a workplace and have control access to the building. Another one of the areas that I worked on didn't achieve the kind of success that I had hoped for, was that when you take a look at the committed and hardworking staffs that are housed in the headquarters building, I was really surprised, coming from a corporate environment, of the lack of defined processes and procedures by which those dedicated staffs would do their work. And therefore, I looked for opportunities where I could transfer or transplant what I knew to be good business practices in helping. The downside of that had to do with the skill levels of the staffs, particularly in the technology areas. And it was limited also to the extent that individuals kind of strayed away from what I considered to be cross-functional, integrated workplace.
Okay.
And I had hoped that I would be able to get more buy-in on cross-functional staff work, subject matter experts, centers of competency, eliminating departmental redundancies, to be able to streamline, if you will, both the work process, the workflow, as well as the staff utilization.
Well, you laid the groundwork for some of that to be done, and we are moving forward with that. For instance, we have our 4 periodicals, and we were maintaining databases for each one of them. That work now has been centralized in operations, and we have a person who oversees our databases and makes sure that when people order their Star of Zion or their quarterly review or their missionary seer or church school herald, that they get them, and if they've ordered all 4, that we have a database that has all of that updated and make sure that's happening. Now that is centralized, and that's actually happening. And so that's work that you laid the groundwork for. People were open to the concept, and we were able to implement a system where each one of those departments have bought into it and have supported that work, and that is working, we believe, for our constituency, and they're now receiving what they need to receive. And they can call one number, one person looking for their periodicals if there is an issue, no pun intended, issue, and they can call one person for that. They didn't have to call each one of those departments to get the issue solved for them. So we're looking to do more of that type of work. We've centralized our accounting, we've centralized our payroll, and these are items that came up at the time when we did the management review of the headquarters, and much of that work again was begun during your tenure, begun with the predecessors of some of the general offices here now, and then continues with those general offices that are here. I don't know if everyone understands that here at the headquarters we have 9 different general officers overseeing now their 9 different departments, and we are now working together to be more effective and more efficient with our resources so that we can help you bring the word of God out to more people.
Excellent. And you know, one of the approaches had to do with the publishing house. First, the bookstore. We worked hard to make the bookstore more user-friendly and inviting, encouraging people to come into the bookstore and browse and make their purchases. We were blessed to find the funds. We totally renovated the bookstore, new fixtures and displays. We also sought to find new and exciting items that we could provide through the bookstore. As the bookstore or the James Varick Christian Bookstore, it was our mission that we should provide all of the essentials that our churches need to operate, and that there should be a single source that they could get those things.
All right, let me pause right there and say, this is our commercial to you to say, buy Zion. Buy from the James Varick Bookstore, the publishing house website. Buy what you need for your churches. We are here and we can supply those for you. Herb Watkins actually launched the website. You launched the website. So not only do we have a physical presence, but we have an online presence as well.
Excellent point. I was so excited about that website launch because in my mind, it accomplished two major purposes. Number one, it brought the bookstore and its goods and services to a broader audience. But secondly, we designed the website with what I call storefront portals, with the idea that we could be, indeed, through our website and through the James Varick Christian Bookstore, we could become the marketing and salesperson for all the departments and the materials and services that they provided. And they could do it in a way that on the website, they could have their own service petition, if you will, tied into the James Varick market basket, and the processing of the transactions would be transparent, like Amazon Prime.
And it's, again, so exciting to hear you talk about this and inform our viewers of what is to come and what was the vision and how it's starting to happen right now. And so we have already contracted with each one of the departments to be able to offer, to facilitate their sales. So right now we're facilitating their sales. They're making their sales, but we are facilitating them. So we are the sales arm. We are packing up the order, shipping the office, being customer service for all of those things. But the future is moving us towards one website for all departments and one sales portal for all departments, that everyone's items would be sold so that we can facilitate. It's back to your idea of saying, where's the expertise? So Christian Ed's expertise is in teaching. Our expertise is in selling, facilitating the sale. Star of Zion's expertise is in collating the data and putting it out there in a format that is usable in the Star of Zion paper and on their website. Again, operations is in packing and shipping and handling the databases and the back end for all of that. We are kind of that Amazon for them, in that we provide all of that back end support for them to have that happen. And so what people will see, I believe the first iteration of the new website will happen down the road in July, August, where we'll have the website, and then we'll look to put all of our websites together so that everyone can go to one place and see all of AME Zion. So we're excited about that as well.
Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. It's so exciting and encouraging to hear about the leveraging effect that you are executing.
Right. And I mean, and the good news is our employees are buying into it, because we're not talking about eliminating anyone. We're talking about, again, leveraging their particular skill set so that they can be more effective in what they're doing. And that has improved our productivity. Our sales, for instance, out of the publishing house last year was $411,000, and we're already looking at $450,000 trend. And we expect that as the year goes on, we'll actually even trend even higher than that as we are able to handle these other items, and people know that they can come to us and expect that we will be delivering on what we say we'll deliver on.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
You know, the other piece of work that I was really excited had to do with integrated management of the headquarters. I felt, as the chief operating officer, and this cross-functional integrated team approach that I had in mind, and the work that I had read that you had done that centered around the departments being silo in their structure. I thought the best way to move forward would be a hybrid. And I think I came up with the idea of the general operating team,
General
officer operating team,
right,
with the idea that you would have, if you will, the finance, the general secretary, and the chief operating officer, I believe, was the structure that I kind of dreamed up. We would be, if you will, the team that would work out and develop straw proposals on things that we thought would move us along to present to the total general officer team to get buy-in and how we would manage the agenda. And I as I remember it, of course, at 79, your memory kind of, but as I remember it, we would meet on the Tuesday before a scheduled general officers team and work out the details and have a firm agenda and a proposal that we would present for their consideration. One of the major projects was that of constructing, if you will, an employee or handbook.
right.
And I know, I've heard that you have been doing some work. So tell me what happened to that and where are you?
Sure. So the general officers team is provided some leadership by what we call the central management team. Those three officers: the general secretary, auditor, the chief financial officer, and the COO. So general secretary office, Reverend Dr. Sadler, the chief financial officer, Reverend Hamilton, and then the chief operating officer, myself. We do meet and we have moved this project forward. Reverend Hamilton has taken on the role of leading our HR, and we completed the employee handbook. It was reviewed by outside experts and legal experts to make sure we were offering our employees the proper procedures for HR, and we implemented it. In fact, it just got implemented fully just a few weeks ago. And so we're excited about getting that one done, as it were, getting that project done. But then we're looking at more ways to engage our employees in HR and how we can better assist them in doing their job. And we're looking for other ways to work with the full general officer team to work together to do things for Zion. And so we've started to look at some projects. We've looked at applying for grants for the AME Zion denomination. We looked at applying for a major grant. We're not mentioning the name right now, but we hope to get this grant. If we get this grant, we'll do an initiative around the economic challenges facing pastors and addressing the situation that our pastors are facing out in the field and how we can assist them. We're looking at providing financial counseling to our pastors. We're looking at, actually in that instance, we're looking at providing financial counseling to all of our ordained ministers, over 8,000 ministers. And again, this is an initiative of the general officers team. This is not just coming out of the operations department. This is a general officers team that's gotten together, and we're raising the issues that our denomination is facing, both here in our building, but then more importantly, in our denomination through our churches with the leadership of our bishops. We're not moving without our bishops. In fact, our bishops are providing leadership to us and guidance to us at some of the issues that we should be addressing, and looking to us for the expertise that we have in our areas, in our departments, and how we can begin to work together to address some of those issues. And so this has been exciting that we're looking at it. Our church and the Christian church in general is in a hard time right now. But as we work together, we know that God will give us the guidance to do what we need to do if we open up our hearts and our minds to it. And then, as we talked about, work together as a team. So the name was even chosen very specifically. This is the general officers
team, and our initiatives are coming from the team. Yes, some of the leadership is coming from this central management team, but the general offices are all working together. I'm excited about this group. We have 5 new general officers come in at this election, and they came in hitting the ground running and wanting to be used by God to do the work that he has set before them. And so as we work together, we're excited about what we can accomplish together.
That's great news. The other area that I'd like to hear was we had, in my experience, and didn't get a chance to do a heck of a lot about it, but the skill profile, particularly the technology, how to use technology, software applications, and those kinds of things. And I hearken back to my experience again in the corporate environment. Departments had budgets for education or would provide opportunities to bring in subject matter experts on the job to expose staffs to the latest in technology, the latest in productivity tools, how you might go about doing things differently. And I felt that would have been a great help here, in that the people are so committed and work so hard.
Yes.
But they are long tenured in those positions, and frankly have not had the opportunities to refresh or reinvigorate their skill sets. So I had hoped that I would be able to bring some, and on a few occasions, I know I sent a couple of my staffs to various education in and around to acquire. One was on website development and those kinds of things. Have you had an opportunity, or do you see that as a potential for going forward, or what generally do you have any views in those areas?
Well, I do. I think that we have an opportunity to continue to grow our staff. Again, as you said, and I want to repeat, and I don't think we can say it enough, they're very committed. They are very committed to AME Zion. They're very committed to their particular role in AME Zion and wanting to have the impact. I have conversations with the staff that you left me with, thank you very much, who constantly talk about how they can improve things or what else they can do. But one of the things we have to do for them is give them additional vision. Right, give them additional skill sets. And so we definitely want to do that. What we've also been blessed by is some of the new blood that has come in as general officers and the skill sets that they brought in. I mean, we know about Darren Kent, who heads up as our chief communication officer, and the skill sets that he brings in technology. And he doesn't do everything, but he's brought some additional skills into the building as well. Some additional folk who've been able to teach our staff, some who don't have skills in technology, but some who do, and they've been able to enhance it. And so I'd like to see us be more formal in some of that work in terms of sending people to take courses, but I'd also like to see us make sure that we're making technology available so that when someone has a question, they know that there's someone both in the building that has a certain skill level to help them, but then that we can reach out. And so we've made available to each department. We have 2 technology companies that we work with that we've made available to people. If one's a hardware person and the other one's more of a software person, that if someone has an issue, as simple as how do I get my email onto my iPhone? We have someone available for them to get that done so that they can stay connected with us and what they're doing in their work. If they're working remotely, that they can get their email at home as well as here in the office. And we want to continue to do that. And again, I can't emphasize enough that the staff is committed to how they can do better, how they can be more productive. And so we're excited about that. And all we have to do is make sure that they have the resources to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's exciting. We talked a little bit about the working with the various departments. We've seen Christian Ed has worked with us in selling their Lenten and Advent documents with us, and they are
They take the lead on developing the Sunday school literature, and we're looking for other opportunities to come up with other projects. We're working again with the Star of Zion. In fact, we are printing the new poster of the bishops, the bishops that were elected in 2021, and that poster will become available. People can go to our website and order it now. We will have that in shortly, and we can get that out to you. You can order it that you can frame it, or you can order it framed in a simple basic frame, or you can order it in a fancy antique looking frame, but we can get that out to you. All you have to do is go to our website, the amyzionpublishinghouse.org, and order the poster, the bishop's poster. We have that available for you. You can go there right now, but if you switch over, make sure you come right back to this. We're not done yet. So we're excited about doing those various things. We also want to hear from you. If you can send us a comment or direct message or over in the Star of Zion's Facebook page, or go to our website and get our email address and email us products and ideas that you think that we should be offering from our publishing houses. Brother Herb Watkins said the vision for this was that we would be able to meet the needs of the churches. What does the church need? And so again, we're providing church school literature. We're providing church supplies. We've recently brought on a line of the communion supplies. We know now, coming out of the pandemic, we all want prepackaged communion. We have that in stock for you at very competitive prices. We want you to buy from us and not have to pay a premium to buy from us, that we will have competitive pricing. That happens because of the purchasing power of our churches. With our Sunday school literature, we're servicing somewhere around a little over a third of our churches, so there's more potential. We hope that our churches would look to us to purchase their Sunday school literature as they come back from the pandemic, come back to meeting in person, that they can get their Sunday school literature here through the publishing house. When you came on board, what were some of the challenges that you first saw, that you are proud of, that you and your staff were able to move past some of those challenges and be more effective for the church?
Well, as I mentioned, a casual view of the headquarters and its state of capital, need for capital repair, was very apparent. And as a result, I would say probably the first 2 to 3 years of my work was just totally consumed in making sure that the building would pass health and fire and all of those kinds of inspections, doing basic building maintenance, basic building compliance. And when I kind of got that stable, the next question had to do with servers. The building, I found from an information systems point of view, had dispersed servers sitting in the various offices. Mm-hmm. And that was an exposure in terms of data loss, fire, any disaster. You would have data in different places. It struck me particularly hard that was the situation with the publishing house. Mm-hmm. And I felt, first and foremost, I had better clean up my own house first. So we went through a major effort of upgrading the software that we were using for the publishing house and installing a new server, because the computer tower that sat on the desk had been there for a number of years, and it was questionable about the data backup and those kinds of things. And the publishing house was the department that every day operationally, in terms of the accounting functions, the order status, the church school literature, sending out the notices of upcoming quarterlies, that data was exposed. So I worked, and we created a central server storage and consolidated first the publishing house, then I think the Star of Zion, then finance, and then WHONM were the departments that we moved into the integrated server, saving those departments monies that they would have had to invest in new server, because the virtual partition server that I bought was able to handle those departments as their own virtual partition on the machine, and secured from a security point of view and from a data backup point of view.
All right. So now we have data redundancy that the people of Zion can rest knowing that we've protected our data. So we have backups happening on site in a fireproof safe. And then we have data happening off-site in the cloud. And so we have data redundancy, making sure that if something happened, we could still operate even off-site from here.
Off-site.
We could access our data and operate and keep things moving.
So that was, that to me was a major accomplishment. And I guess the other was, when I came on board, the publishing house was renting and paying for remote warehousing and distribution space. So I thought that that was an opportunity to reduce the expense of the publishing house, particularly given that we had underutilized space here. So that's how I came upon the idea of creating, if you will, the publishing house distribution center on the second floor. That eliminated a long-term lease. It also allowed us to have the pick, pack, and distribution on site, where we could better utilize the publishing house staffs to get that done. We centralized the order processing so that when the admin people processed an order, they created, if you will, the pack list for the distribution center to fill that order, put it in the box, and ship it out of here.
And so we continue to move that process forward. Our biggest seller by far is our Sunday school literature, and that happens on a quarterly basis. And when we got delivery in of that literature to ship, we would have it in such a compressed time that we'd have to bring in part-time staff to help us to get that out. Well, now we've been able to get the system to be able to spread out the orders when they're coming into the office, and then ship them out without bringing on part-time staff, again, making us more productive and making us more efficient. We're also, I know this segment is called Now and Then, but we're also should say Now, Then, and the Future. And some people may not know that this is a 2-story facility. And so we have some, if you will, unfinished space upstairs, and we're looking towards the future. What else can we do? And so maybe in the future, this segment wouldn't actually be filmed here in the reception area, but in our new TV studio, as we continue to work with our general offices and say, what are the things that they're doing? What are they looking to do? And how can operations support that happening? And so in our communications department, one of the things they're looking at is AME Zion TV. What they're looking to do is do more of this type of production in-house. In our facility, in our own studio, and looking to install that upstairs. We're also looking to add an employee lounge upstairs, possibly with some equipment and exercise equipment for our employees, again, to make to support them and their continued growth. We're looking to do that. So we're looking towards the future. What else can we be doing and do effectively to bring God's word to the people. How do we do that more and more and more? And as we work with the general officer's team and look for ideas, we want to continue to facilitate that. I see that as my biggest priority. My biggest priority is to facilitate the work of our general officers in their departments. They touch the pastors, they touch the churches, they touch the people. How can I make them more effective? How can I support them as they become more effective in what they're doing?
I am so excited to hear that, because one of the things that I had a vision was to make the conference room on the second floor, if you will, a teleconferencing TV, so that many of the meetings that I observed had our pastors and presiding elders and other leaders of the church doing travel to come here to have meetings that last, say, an hour. And it struck me, of course, one of the quote unquote good things that came out of the pandemic was it helped us become more comfortable with the technology of Zoom and Team and that kind of thing. But I had done some early work on what it would take to convert our conference room upstairs to make it more technology able to do conference meetings, and the technology was such that you no longer needed special equipment and cameras. It would scale, I think is the right word, to any device that you had. And it just struck me that that was another way by which we could make the church more efficient, less time of travel, less travel expense. So one of the first moves was to bring, if you will, Wi-Fi throughout the building, and to set up the basis of fiber optic cabling into the building, and to give us bandwidth that we could grow in that direction.
Well, with the pandemic, just as you said, the use of bandwidth in this building has grown tremendously. And so we've added bandwidth since you've been here. We've added more bandwidth, and we've added technology upstairs to the conference room. So it is teleconference capable. In fact, our bishops have met here a number of times and communicated with the bishops overseas, with our bishops over our African areas. And so it was just exciting to have that happen. Again, efforts led by the general officers in this particular area, by Darren Kent and the technology that he introduced to us. And so that's in place right now. We could go upstairs right now and do teleconferencing with ease. And you don't have to have special skill sets to be able to do it. These are the technology that's been installed and made available now is relatively easy to use. And so we're excited that we continue to grow in that way.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So we continue to look for ways. Again, I can't say that enough. Actively looking for ways. We're excited. I think I talked a little bit about the website, but one of the things we're looking at is how can we aid our bishops and our conferences. And so one of the ideas we're exploring is how to register people for annual conferences. And so that and aid the annual conferences in their efforts. And so we're looking for those things that we can do, that we can leverage skill sets throughout the denomination. Again, it's for us, it's not about these four walls. It's about these four walls reaching out to the rest of the denomination to see what it is that we can do. And so that's one of the initiatives that we're working on, again, through the general officer team with Dr. Sadler leading that efforts, working with Darren Kent and myself in particular on that particular issue. But we continue to look for other things that we can do. We're excited about our departments developing plans on how they can leverage each other and how they can leverage each other. And so understanding what they're doing and how they're doing it and how we can leverage each other in our departments. And we're excited about that. One of the new initiatives, I think we'll be starting this in the next 60 days or so, is that we'll be going out to all the annual conferences. And at each annual conference will be a representative that speaks from this building and what's going on here and what's available to the members of the denomination. And so they'll find out about what's available in the publishing house. They'll find out what's available in Christian Ed. They'll find out what's happening with the Star of Zion or any one of our departments, of our church growth area, of our global missions, all of that. They'll be able to find out about that because we'll have a representative there. And we're actually going to choose someone locally, train them locally, and make sure that they can speak to the issues and then direct the people here for more details as they need them. So we're excited about that. We're hoping to launch that within the next 60 days or so.
Great. You know, one of the personal joys that I had was the occasions when Zionites from out of town would be passing through and would stop with great pride at the headquarters.
Okay.
And my joy was to have the opportunity to take them around, talk about the history and the building and show them some of the work that we were doing, and just to feel their presence and their joy of, in a sense, the role that they played in making this happen. So it is a great opportunity. And as you were talking about, again, broadcasting to the churches, our mission is to help you. That just brought to mind the joy when they were in here to actually see where the church school literature was developed and to see where it came out of the publishing house and to walk the halls. And many of the, should I say, the more mature long-term Zeronites knew a number of the general officers, and for them to have an opportunity to exchange greetings with them was just so heart-rendering.
And so we want to encourage you. If you are in the Charlotte area, a must stop is here at the headquarters. We'd love for you to come in and say hello to us. We'd love for you to take a quick tour. We'd love for you to come by the bookstore. Please don't hesitate to come by the headquarters here in Charlotte. Obviously easy to find out where it's at. Just Google it. And you can just come on by here during normal business hours is when we're here. We'd love to have you stop by. As Brother Herb said, we get joy out of showing you this part of Zion, this part of the infrastructure that's trying to do the work to support you in what you're doing, which is bringing the word of God to the people. So please do not hesitate to come on by. Do you have any other closing thoughts for us before we head out tonight?
I would just simply like to say, as I've said many times, I consider myself to be personally blessed to have had the opportunity to serve my church and to some small measure to have contributed to its growth and well-being. I'm so excited that I also had the opportunity to become close brothers with my successor. It's a joy. Not too often do you find that experience to be able to share a sense of bonded care and concern, working to the glory of God. So that's my joy.
Well, thank you very much for that. You should know that Brother Herb and I have grown close since my tenure has begun here. He continues to make himself available to me to answer any question that I might have. He continues to give me advice. I love when he says, I know I need to stay in my lane. And then he goes, but. And so you know that something's coming. Something's coming. And I continue to say, he doesn't need to say, but just go ahead and say what's on his mind, because I value his opinion. I have come to know him and know how much he cares about Zion, how much he cares about doing the work that God has for him to do. And I know he would like to believe that he's done doing it, but my opinion, and I've told him this several times, that if you're still breathing, God still has more work for you to do. And so I just love this gentleman here. And look forward to the times that we spend together. We go and just grab some lunch together and just sit and chat about what's happening. And we talk about Zion and talk about the headquarters, but we also talk about things outside of that. And just so grateful to have the relationship with him. But I'm also grateful that I can come to a place that has been well kept. And he took care of this building. He took care of this business. And so I'm having the opportunity to do some things because of the things that he did before me. And he's laid the foundation and put in place some building blocks that we're able to build upon and continue to grow. And so excited about that. We hope again that you will continue to be a part of what we're doing here. We don't do it alone, and we don't do it for ourselves. So we hope that you'll continue to be a part of what's happening here at the headquarters and what's happening in Zion. Zion continues to live. Zion is strong, and Zion has a great future because of the work that is being done here, but most importantly, because of the work that you're doing out there.
Wow, that was so good. I am glad you joined us tonight. Were you inspired like I was? I hope you'll continue to work with us to move AME Zion forward, to get the word of God out. We do operations and publishing here, but it's all about getting God's word to God's people. So we hope that you'll continue to patronize what we're doing. You'll continue to reach out to us and tell us what we could be doing better and what we could be doing more of. One of the ways you can patronize is to purchase the new Bishop's posters. This has the newly elected bishops on it, and so we are excited about bringing this to you and that you can hang it in your church and inspire all your members and all your visitors. They can see our sisters and brothers who led this church and who continue to lead this church. So you can go to our website right now and purchase. We hope you'll join us on June 26th at 3 p.m. for our latest edition of When Freedom Speaks. Bishop Yu Epion of the Eastern West Africa Episcopal area. We hope you'll join us to hear what he has to say about what's going on in his area and his vision for the future. Please join us then.